Welcome back. Well, it appears that pressure is now building on our government to rescind the plan to make a donation of 50 million rand to Cuba. NGOs that help feed people here say that this is money that could be better spent here at home. The International Relations Department says it believes Cuba needs the money to give food to people there because they are suffering from the American embargo, which was imposed in Cuba in 1962. Arnold Tanzer is the chair of the organization Chefs with Compassion, one of the NGOs which is opposing this. Arnold, good afternoon to you. Why are you opposing this donation to Cuba?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and thanks for having us on your show. Well, in a nutshell, why we are opposing it is that 52% of South Africans are what we call food insecure. In other words, they don't know at some point in the month where their next meal is coming from. And if you look at Cuba, just under 19% of Cubans are food insecure. So we cannot fathom why the South African government would give 50 million rand to a foreign country when, due to COVID and other circumstances, 52% of South Africans at some point in the month don't know where their next meal is coming from.
So you say both as a proportion and both as an absolute number. There are more South Africans who need help with food than Cubans.
100%. That's the latest statistics that we've been able to glean shows that that is the case. You know, and having worked in this space over the last 2 years and just being one of 60 NPOs that are opposing this, every single NPO is saying we're seeing more desperate people, more voiceless people who are going hungry every single day.
So how big is the need for food? I mean, when you arrive in a place with food, what kind of demand do you see?
Well, it's an endless question. You know, I think we can produce food every single day, and the queues will keep growing. There is almost every day we are fielding calls from organizations saying we want to be a beneficiary. And if you look at 52% that is food insecure, that's 30 million people.
Sure.
That's a vast amount of people that at some point don't know where they're getting the next meal from. And while we understand the historic significance of Cuba, particularly to the ANC-led government, we just cannot understand why they would send the money to a foreign country when the need is so great in our own country.
When you try and bring this up with government officials, do you get any response?
Well, yesterday we handed over 17,000 petitions at DIRCO to the acting DG, Clayton Monyane, and he was very, very welcoming. He accepted it. He gave us promises that he would engage with sister organizations within government. Because what we're actually asking for is, first and foremost, halt the donation, use that money locally. Secondly, we would love to engage with the Minister in Social Development, Ndiwe Zulu. This falls under her portfolio. We feel that she's seriously failed the people of South Africa over here, and let us look at how we can solve this issue. And to the President, this is a pandemic, and it needs to be declared as a pandemic. You know, in Sona, he referred to wanting to change the scope of the economy in South Africa and to help the voiceless. Well, it's time for him to step up and engage with us. Let's find there are experts in the country. The NPOs all say we want to work together with government to solve this problem. So we hope that by engaging yesterday with DIRCO, we can get the message to the other departments.
If someone gave your organization and the organizations you're working with 50 million rand, what would you be able to do with it?
Well, it costs us about 10 rand to feed one person a meal. So you work it out, how many people we can feed. Our particular organization over the last 18 months has cooked about 2.5 million meals. That's basically the province of the Free State, a meal, using just rescued food, because that's what we do. But, you know, 50 million goes a long way. And what we really want is to engage with the learned people at universities who help root out the systemic root causes of hunger in South Africa, because they can be solved. You know, we produce something like 31 million tons of food, of which 10 million tons gets thrown away every year. So a third of what we produce doesn't reach the plate. That's a travesty.
For the last 30 years at least in this country, maybe longer, the problem's never been a shortage of food. It's the distribution mechanism. It's about income.
100%. It's distribution. It's what retailers expect from farmers. You know, if we lose 50% of everything on the farm, doesn't even reach the retailers or the factories that make other food out of it. So we have to relook at how we get the food from the farm to the fork.
I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but is there proof or evidence that the money, 50 million rand, actually went to give food to people in Cuba?
Well, that was the other interesting thing we've learned. It is that the money hasn't left the country yet. It hasn't gone yet. It was Mr. Alvin Bottas has proposed it, and I think due to our action and other action from media, there's a question mark now whether that money would leave. And we just wish that they reallocate it to projects in South Africa.
For many people, I think, the idea was the pandemic is over. You know, there's not really a lockdown. I mean, there is, but there isn't really. There's a state of national disaster in name only. Why are so many people then still battling to get food?
Look, I think there's a huge knock-on effect, and we have to be realistic. Before COVID, there were a lot of hungry people in South Africa with our unemployment rates. COVID certainly didn't help. And I think if you look at what's happening overseas in Ukraine, the fuel prices are going to increase, which is going to have a knock-on effect. And with fuel prices increases, food prices increase, and they never seem to come down. So I think those are some of the various factors. The unemployment rate, which is high, small businesses which have closed. You know, you'll talk to a farmer, and it's either not enough rain, and this year it's certainly a lot of farmers are saying too much rain. So we don't see the numbers, and we kind of predicted it sadly when we started off some 18 months ago, that this wasn't just for the 6 weeks of initial lockdown. This is going to go on for a long time in finding food to feed the voiceless.
I mean, in a way, it's astonishing that the focus of government isn't on this one key question. I mean, the government has certain duties, certain legal duties. I wouldn't be surprised if a lawyer somewhere makes an argument that this is a dereliction of a legal duty to make sure that people in the country have enough food.
Well, yes, and I'm sure it's a great argument. I guess what goes through my mind is when these politicians drive past every robot and see the hungry people, do they not see the people who have voted for them? I mean, that's a very political question, but in essence, that is what it is. There are people in South Africa, some 30 million people, who are facing hunger every day.
It's an astonishing figure. You're in negotiations with the government. You say the money hasn't actually left yet. I imagine you could also do with donations. Keep the 50 million rand. Yeah, maybe it goes to you, maybe it goes to other organizations, Food Forward and others.
Yeah.
But donations to you would also make a huge difference.
Sure, donations to every organization, whether it's a small community kitchen in a township or one of the big organizations or our organizations. We all rely on donations. Monetary, voluntary, time-wise from people is also very important. And certainly food parcels and food help us achieve our goals.
It also shows, I mean, we're going to be stuck with this for a long time. I don't mean stuck with it in that way. What I mean is people are going to need help for a very long time.
Yeah, certainly I think over the next 5 to 10 years, if government takes action now and wishes to engage with us, and we get the experts on board, we change the way we farm, we change the way we distribute, possibly between 5 and 10 years we can start alleviating hunger. But we do need to start now.
It's a really important conversation. Thank you very much indeed. I do appreciate you coming in today and talking with us on this. It really is an incredible conversation, and we'll be watching it very closely from Chefs with Compassion. Arnold, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Stephen.